Formula One is back. Welcome back to the Fastest Podcast. We are going to be taking you through everything you might have missed at the Australian Grand Prix. Let's get straight into it. There's plenty to discuss from the opening round. Let's kick it off with the biggest talking point, Mercedes versus Ferrari. Maybe a start to the race that no one quite expected. Dan, what did you make of it?
The Ferraris launched off the line really well. Something to do with their engine and the battery, possibly. But anyway, Antonelli didn't really move off the line. Poor start by him. Russell got a decent start, to be fair, but fair play to the Ferraris. They kind of, Leclerc moved through and Hamilton was up to third, and they raced each other hard for 15 or so laps before the virtual safety car came out. And, it was quite refreshing to see a fight for the lead of a race. It's something we've been missing for most of last season. So it was quite nice to see, three drivers. Antonelli was even catching them at one point quite quickly. So it could have even been four drivers fighting for the lead of the race, which is what we want to see. We don't want to see processions. Yes, some of the moves were pretty much to do with battery instead of driver skill. However, I'm sure we'll touch on that. But it's good to see that there's at least two constructors fighting at the top end to begin with.
Pigeon?
Yeah, for the racing, we do have racing. We are having cars go past each other. Whether it's good enough to be called racing, I don't know. But good start. You had an actual battle for a couple of laps. And then it kind of just settled into its usual pace, which we got used to in 2025. But I would say overall better than expected. Good racing in general. So
yeah, I do want to come on to some of the other drivers that were involved in that kind of first lap excitement. But before we move on, I just want to touch on one last thing, Mercedes and Ferrari. Do we think that Ferrari lost out because of poor strategy in the end? Or do we think that was always the way it was going to go?
I do think it was always going to go that way, just because I think the Mercedes were quicker on race pace in general throughout the weekend. They could have split them. They could have pitted one of the Ferraris and seen what the other could do with fresher tyres later on in the race. But tyres didn't even come into it in the end. There was basically no degradation from the front four. I think either way, Ferrari would have been screwed. So they were going for the tyre delta, but it just didn't work out for them. Eventually, the second stops, even if they had under the virtual safety car, I think Russell could have undercut them. Russell could have overcut them. So I think either way, second was their ceiling. So it was damned if you do, damned if you don't. They didn't.
I think there could have been something in it, though. They did kind of end 10 seconds behind, roughly. And, well, in the closing stint of the race, that's where they were kind of placing. And that's kind of the time that they lost by not pitting under the virtual safety cars.
But ultimately, Leclerc didn't have the pace on the hard tyre regardless. He was losing a lot of time in the final, I don't know what, sort of 10 laps. Hamilton was really catching him. Maybe if Hamilton was the lead Ferrari, it could have been a little bit different. Obviously, we'll never know. But I think ultimately they would have finished where they did, third and fourth.
Well, let's move away from that because it's true. We will never know. Some of the other standout drivers in that opening lap. Hadjar. Now, it didn't end very well for him. He did suffer a technical issue, which did lead to a DNF. But incredible start. He was starting from third on the grid. He was right in the mix there in the opening stages. Ultimately, Ferrari did get the jump on him. But still, an impressive opening race for Red Bull.
First off, his qualifying was really strong, best of the rest, ahead of the Ferraris. And then to be able to see him go pretty much with the Mercedes for a good 10 laps, that's promising. Especially when you have to consider that we didn't have Verstappen in that position, who might even have a little bit more in the tank. So I think Red Bull could be a contender for, well, at least P3, and maybe even mix it in with the Mercedes and Ferraris at some points in the season.
Verstappen, we kind of saw some limitation there for him in the closing stages of the race when he was catching Norris. Now, it didn't look quite as mighty as the performance that Hadjar was giving us until we DNF'd. But could that just be leftover issues that he's having?
I did see some posts that both of the Red Bulls were having battery issues. Both at the start as well. Both of them had basically no battery. So yeah, I think only the Ferraris had like 20% battery. The rest of them didn't have much. So I think that's going to be a major issue this season, which is sad to see, because it just takes away from good competition. But yeah, I think if everything works out smoothly, I think race pace, we're going to see an interesting season.
Going on to the Red Bull power unit, this is unconfirmed, but in my opinion, it looked like Lindblad was also suffering a little bit with maybe a battery issue or some sort of issue, because Ollie Behrman just absolutely flew away from him, and Bortoleto was catching him at quite a rate of knots as well. So that there might have been something in that they just need to tweak the power unit at Red Bull a little bit.
Didn't hold him back from flying into P3 though. Man, Lindblad, he put on the performance, man.
Yes, Lindblad, what a debut! I mean, out of all the Red Bull family drivers, I would say he probably had the most impressive weekend at the end of it. Yeah, incredible performance from him. I had a good feeling going in. Now, you guys have expressed concern that maybe it was too early to promote him. And, it feels good being right, I have to say. So I think he's going to be a really exciting one to watch, especially alongside Lawson, because Lawson was kind of nowhere throughout the weekend. But yeah, Lindblad's start, what do we make of that?
Good solid start, to be fair. I was one of the doubters, of course. And look, he scored points. It's now about building on that, building the consistency. He's going to make mistakes in the season, especially in the early parts. He's probably, race one, good start. He needs to build a little bit of consistency, and fair play to him. It's what we wanted. He did get out qualified by Lawson, to be honest. So that not really taken. They both got into Q3, which is a good result for the team. But during the race, Lawson just he wasn't on it, and Lindblad showed what the car can do. So fair play to the youngster.
I mean, to battle with 3 out of the 4 world champions on the grid in your first race, that's impressive. I think after the race, he was also really, really proud of himself to be able to battle with the likes of Lewis and Max. So, yeah, I mean, amazing race. I think it was the best debut qualifying result, or at least up there for Racing Bulls. So, yeah, to bring home a P7 finish, I think it was.
I think
P8 finish on debut points. It's I think as good as you could wish for in that car. So yeah, I can't wait to see him back in action in China.
I mean, we all know that consistency is a Red Bull driver's best friend. If you keep delivering, you keep your seat. I suppose we just need to keep an eye on how he develops into the season. Now, speaking of developing into the season, Aston Martin used the Australian Grand Prix as their very own test session. I had no idea what was going on half the time. Maybe that's because it was 4 o'clock in the morning. We will never know. But they did take it in their stride, I suppose, as much as they could. Both drivers retired, I think, twice, but then came back. What do we think of that? We knew it was going to be bad. We knew it was going to be real bad. But they did make the most out of it, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to get 24 testing sessions this season for Aston Martin, to be honest. It doesn't seem like they can run full races yet. I mean, yeah, what do you want to make of it? It's, yeah, I literally have no words for it. I mean, they didn't crash, which is a good thing, I think.
Didn't seem to be a hazard to anyone else either, which was one of the concerns with them running.
One thing to add, though, on a positive note for Aston Martin is Alonso got a really good start off the line, and I think he made it.
Alonso things.
Yeah, I think he made it into the top 10 off the line. So, obviously he was overtaken pretty much immediately within the next 2-3 laps and was dropping far down the order. Credit where credit's due. And they weren't the slowest car. And he was very close to making it into Q2. So fair play to Alonso. He's still one of the best drivers on the grid.
Also want to give a shout out to someone that Dan has been really critical of going into the first race of the season. Colapinto. Man, that save was cat-like.
Flavio definitely has something to smile about that day. At the very least, that is definitely a positive. That was a fantastic move that he did there. We knew that starting procedure could be a little bit chaotic. And then obviously the start that we had, we've got the Ferraris and everything. I think a lot of people didn't clock that had happened until after the race. So yeah, that was a crazy impressive save from him. I think it was Lawson ahead of him. Didn't quite stall, but it
didn't really move.
Didn't get very far either. So yeah, I think, yeah, fantastic. And I really, really hope that he just gets to complete his first full season in Formula One. Yeah, let's monitor that situation closely. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, great first race of the season. I think a lot of people do still have their complaints, but you can kind of see the drivers are settling into those new regs kind of on the job. Testing is a speck in the whole year, really, if you think about it. They don't get tons of it, so ultimately they haven't done a bad job. You could actually see them learning the cars, learning how to kind of deploy all of these new things in real time, which I think does make it exciting for us as fans. Yeah, I don't want to be too harsh on the new regs because it delivered as far as I'm concerned. Okay.
The fans seem to disagree. We read a poll after the race, and we basically asked, was it better, worse, or kind of like you expected? A solid 53% said it was way worse than we expected. So, yeah.
F1 fans these days, honestly. We can't please F1 fans these days.
This is F1, not Formula E.
They just want V10s, man. They just want V10s.
Yeah. I mean, we all want V10s, but we're not getting them. So I'm trying to make the best of a situation. I think we've got to give it time because yeah, we all love old classic F1 and everything, but the innovation is cool. Let's be real. The innovation is cool. It's exciting to see this massive overhaul in regulations, I think, anyway. So I'm gonna give it some time.
I don't have to wait long though, because I think China will suit these regulations pretty well.
Yeah.
A lot of slow zones, or kind of bendy, twisty parts where you really have to use the brakes.
Back straight.
Could see an amazing race. Just be mindful of that really long back straight. So
I think it will serve us well entertainment-wise, personally.
We'll have to see.
I think we're going to leave that there. We're going to leave it there, but do keep an eye out for our Chinese Grand Prix preview. That will be with you soon. Thank you so much for joining us. Keep an eye on our socials for any updates that you may have missed in the world of Formula One. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So do keep an eye out. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.